With Halloween coming up, what is your story of the creepiest thing that's ever happened to you? This isn't next level creepy, but it sure freaked me out. I was walking to the bus stop one morning my first semester at uni. I had started going by my middle name at this point. Some guy that I have never seen before crosses my path for a second, looks me square in the eye, and yells my full name. I was really stressed out and sleep deprived at the time, and I am still unsure if this actually happened or if it was a hallucination. Edit. There was definitely no name tag involved. OMFG. You good fam. Just somebody trolling with their shinigami eyes. So everybody has that rich neighborhood that you go to get the king-size candy bars. Well, when I was around 13-14 my friends went out to that neighborhood and we stayed out pretty late. Soon there was practically nobody on the streets and people started turning off their outside lights. And as we finish our last street there was this motherfucker in a black cloak dragging a metal snow shovel going from a brisk walk to a straight up sprint. Hearing that metal scrape and a black figure in the night sprinting towards you, I created my own kind of candy bar in my pants that night. Was it that old man from Home Alone that salted the sidewalks? He was actually a pretty alright guy, if you'll remember. When I was 12 years old, I was chillin' downstairs watching TV on the couch with my dog relaxing across the room. Out of nowhere he stood up completely alert and started growling with his hackles raised, watching the staircase. To my dismay his gaze followed from the staircase across the room and ended up staring next to me, growling louder than ever, practically snarling, which he never did. He was a Bichon, a fluffy friendly little white dog. I don't know if it was my imagination, but at the time I was pretty damn sure I felt coldness in the air next to me. I noped the fuck out, sprinted across the room, grabbed the dog and ran up the stairs. Never had anything ever happen like that again. My mom still lives in that house. Does a thing happening every day for 13 years count? If so, my childhood home had some supernatural shit going on. You would always hear the conversation of a man and woman, but couldn't figure out their words. My room was where it could be heard the most. My room was also the room where a guy shoved his daughter out of the window about a century ago. There's so many more things about that house that are creepy, but the conversations are what stuck with me most. My dad's house is haunted and you can hear conversations happening all the time. Again, not being able to make out what's being said, but they'll just be chatting away. It usually happens on an opposite floor. If you're downstairs you hear people talking upstairs or vice versa. When you go to investigate they stop. He texted me a couple weeks ago and said it's a little creepy when you're the only one home and you can clearly hear someone snoring upstairs. Deleted. Friend of mine was walking in the woods and saw a fat guy dressed in overalls just standing there motionless looking down. Heard my friend. Looked up and grunted hey. He screamed and ran back home crying. Later found out it was a guy who worked with the Pennsylvania Park Service and he was reading one of the devices that measure the water quality in the creek for runoff and my friend was stepping on the wire that anchored it into the stream. Deleted. And that was the only time that's happened? A guy wouldn't sleep easy after that. I'm going to preface this by warning you that this is going to sound really stupid. A few years back I was lying in bed with my boyfriend. I would keep my laptop tucked between the bed and the bedside table. So we were lying there, playing on our phones before we were going to go to sleep when my computer, which had not been used in days, starts blaring Whitney Houston. I'm not necessarily a fan so I know I didn't leave anything up that would play this. Opened my laptop and it's on YouTube, playing one of her music videos. So, it was odd. Well, the next day we see on social media that her daughter had odd in a bathtub the day before. Might not be spooky, but very strange. This is the second post like this. Google why does my computer turn itself on and you can see it's a common thing. Common and still very creepy. My husband and I were taking a walk in the early evening when a disembodied black hand grabbed my husband's shirt. It freaked me out so much I told him we had to turn around and go home. On the way home, he mentioned he felt a surging cold spot from where I saw the hand was. Was the hand black as in the natural skin tone or black as in hex number 000000? I lived in a house that has periodic ghost activity. I had a tuft of hair tugged on 2 different times one night and I used to hear somebody walking around in my room upstairs a couple of nights out of the week. It sounded like leather-soled shoes on a wood floor. It was pretty frightening at first and I started sleeping with the light on, but after a couple of weeks it got kinda annoying and I eventually started sleeping through it or it stopped. You should leave out a plate of cookies or something for them. With a nice note. There is this one trail in the middle of a state park that I occasionally go down. The entire time I walk down it, it feels like I'm being watched. And or followed. I had sticks break feet behind me and jump out of my skin. What is even weirder is while I have seen the occasional tracks of bears or trucks, doubles as a service road, I have never seen any living creatures on it. Not even a bird. I'm no stranger to the woods. And I have been all over that park. Just that one trail freaks me out. Not to mention it has some weird rock formations and placements that I would love to explore, but bears and rattlesnakes. Oh man. I was once in the middle of the woods, honestly a little lost, on an off-road mini bike. I was heading down a very steep trail. Taking my time. Then at one point I came to a complete stop to plan my next move. After I stopped I heard and felt through the ground a large person running up on me. I turned around but there was nobody there. Shut off the engine and listened a while but never heard or saw anything. I was wearing a camera at the time. But it keeps cutting out at the worst times. I should charge it and see if I still have the footage. But I really don't know. Doubt the audio would have picked it up though. Hope this thread takes off. Same here. This is secondhand. From a post on Reddit that I probably can't find anymore, a woman posted that she had trouble opening the door to her baby son's nursery and saw the grey hand of a very old person holding it. The fingers reaching around from the other side. The woman responded to my question about whether she had an old relative living there, but she didn't. She presented this as true and had no explanation. This is, if true, the creepiest thing I have ever read on Reddit. I mean, I guess there are creepier things, but this one was so matter of fact and did not involve skinwalkers or werewolves. This is terrifying. The imagery of the fingers reaching around the door really intensifies the creepy factor. I walked into my house from the garage and went straight to the back door to let the dogs out. I pretty quickly went back to close the door to the garage, which I had left open when I came in. The door was closed. And locked. And the chain was on it. There wasn't anyone else home at the time and I have no memory of closing the door. Much less locking it. I was really creeped out for the rest of the night. So the question is, who let the dogs out? Not so much creepy but definitely feeds a superstitious belief. I opened my new umbrella inside my house. Later that day my car engine fucking dies out of nowhere in a drive-through car wash : I can relate. I never open an umbrella inside. Once entering my office building's front door, I was forced to walk under a window washer's umbrella. I fretted about it all day. Deleted. Imagine though it's not a ghost per se but a simple engraving in time and space. Someone with heels who walked down the floor countless of times. So often that they simply left a mark. The ware table leaves a mark on a rug after standing on it for a long time. Nobody was in my house. Just me. I stopped browsing Reddit. Put my phone down on the table. And close my eyes for a second. Suddenly I hear an iPhone camera noise. Again. It's just me in the house. A cold feeling swept over me. An intense mixture of dread and oh shit I'm gonna die, so I turned on every light in my house and watched TV on a high volume. Unless someone took a pic of you from outside. Maybe not creepy but it scared the ever-living fuck out of me. One cool summer night I was driving over the motorway and from afar I saw the corpse of a weasel lying on the tarmac. Well shit. Trying to get it between my wheels. A few meters to go and suddenly the critter jerks around and looks me straight in the eyes and I pass over it without crushing it. Fuck me sideways. The animal was just chilling on the warm tarmac because the night was rather cool. So, I was stumbling to my home from school. It was 5 kilometers. And I was about 12-year old. It was very dark outside because it was winter. Also it was the most worst snowstorm that I've seen here in Finland. Couldn't see shit forward. I was going with my big brother. And he was front of me. We were going up to a little hill. There was still 2 kilometers to my home. I heard a sound. Behind me. That called my name. 5 times. What the FCK? It was creepy voice too. Didn't feel anything familiar that I've ever heard and couldn't see anything, so I was very scared and started going faster towards my brother and told him that. Then we just quickly went home and nothing else happened. Just couldn't get sleep that night. P.S. My name is pretty rare one here. That reminds me of an Algonquian legendary evil spirit called the Wendigo, https://en. Wikipedia. Org Wiki Wendigo folk beliefs. Legend goes that they will lure you into the woods by calling your name on a windy night. Sometimes they will imitate familiar voices. They're one of the critters who supposedly appear more frequently when their name is mentioned. Hopefully they're not tech savvy. When I was 6, our next door neighbor was on top of his house in a sheet. He had a trumpet he played when people came to his door. Do not know why. But that shit scared the crap out of me. Like he was dressed like a ghost or he was naked. I recorded 2 children whispering to each other in my room. Well, you can't just drop that without linking the audio, lol. I was kayaking with a Boy Scout troop in a river. We come across what looks like a dead deer. Or a walrus of some sort. Upon closer inspection, it was a dead naked woman. The leaders called the cops, who told us it was suicide. Later that night I found out it was a rape and murder. And the next day the perpetrators were caught. Living in Providence. Go figure. The living room and kitchen were adjacent with a wall partition. I got up from my couch to go to the kitchen, and when I turned the corner for a split second I saw a man. Blood all over, roughed up clothes, holding his face and crouched down against the wall. It was so clear. I only saw it for a split second, but it seems like it was way too specific to be an eye glitch or something. I don't know. Honestly. When I was about 13, 2 friends and I were held against our will by an elderly lady with dementia on Halloween for a couple hours. We were trick-or-treating and she invited us into her house so she could show us pictures of her missing cat. We knew we shouldn't have accepted her invitation, but didn't think this little old lady posed any threat. She didn't even know what year it was, let alone that it was Halloween. I felt bad because by the time we finally managed to get past her and leave, she was pleading with us not to abandon her again. Heartbreaking. Not about me, but some ones of the stories I've heard where the person is actually visually upset telling me. The friend told me he and some of his friends came to his house after a football game or some local event. His dad lived out in an old house 10 miles out of town. It's a remote area in central Illinois, satellites visible on a clear night. Basically he said everyone in the room agreed it happened and each person was equally upset. They were all hanging out when everyone at once noticed a super pale white face that looked almost human but not quite, dark eyes, sunken face, looking into the window. Then the whole figure disappeared within the half of a second everyone had noticed it. I always post this one. Freaked me out right good. I was hiking well outside of Moab with a couple friends. Came upon a huge boulder with my very uncommon last name scratched into it in 1-foot-tall letters. Very unsettling. Was it a message from the future? What did it mean? They thought I did it. I thought they were pranking me. They were not. One day my little brother, a baby barely able to speak at the time, pulled my dad into the master bedroom. Pointed at a corner and said the devil lives down there. I personally don't believe that. But whenever you drop toast in my house it's always jelly side down. When I was 7 I went to my friend Millie's house. She lived right on the edge of this fairly large field. It usually had corn and whatnot. But during this time nothing was planted. Anyway, we decided to go play in this field. And to make a long story short, her psycho neighbor came out at full sprint and chased us with a shovel. I lost my shoe climbing over the fence. I was too scared to get it back. My poor light-up sketcher. Shortly before my dad died, when he was asleep on the couch and I had my back to him, I could hear him whispering and talking. I thought maybe it was just the air conditioner making funny noises. But when he was not in the house, this didn't happen. After he died the whispering never returned. Also, the day he died at the hospital, I was asleep in the waiting room. I dreamed that many clones of him were working in the hospital. He never woke up. I bought a brand new mountain bike several years ago. But no one was around to go on the inaugural ride with me. So I went alone. After about an hour I was riding down a trail I hadn't been on before and came across a few crows in a tree above me. Then a little further down the trail there was a tree with about 20 crows in it. Then as I came up to a group of trees making a canopy above the trail, I saw what looked like a couple hundred crows in those trees, making it kind of dark on the trail. I got the creepiest feeling I've ever had and just turned around and went home. For your information, a flock of crows is called a murder. Came into my apartment with some pictures and the frames turned upside down. It was only my husband and I living there, and to this day he still says he didn't try to mess with me. I had to stay at an B&B in a city for a trip and my dad couldn't find parking one night, like 12 o'clock, so he dropped me off down the street while he went to find parking, and so I started walking up the street when a car pulled up next to me and started slowing down. Eventually slowing down to my pace. I walked faster and faster and they kept following. Windows still up and the car was dark on the inside. I kept walking till I got to the door and went inside. Never saw that car again. I was closing up at this coffee shop around 3 in the morning. And I got that feeling that someone was looking at me. I look out the window and on the sidewalk, there was this homeless guy with shaggy dreads that was all drugged out with a massive nosebleed and a white t-shirt covered in blood. He was just standing there. I guess he was attracted because we were the only building with lights on. But when I caught him at first glance it looked like a shadowy zombie vampire. An old man died in the room I lived in when I was 18. One night I heard whispers and my door was shaking. It all stopped when I started screaming. I moved rooms but then the night terrors started. Kept jumping on my bed screaming in my sleep. We had to move as the energy was becoming too much for my family and I. Deleted. People just like to go out of their way to prove people wrong by just being an ass. That's too much energy mo. Couldn't imagine being that miserable. I always love reading these stories whether they're true or not. Happy haunting everyone. When I was younger, say about 13 or so, I woke up in my bed and saw a bunch of ghostly hands in my TV. All teaching upward like they were attempting to grab something. At the time, I was a paranoid kid. I kept a BB gun next to my bed and so I grabbed it and hid under my covers. Took a while to fall back asleep, and while not too exciting of a story, it was terrifying at the time. My brother's room used to be right across from mine. We usually didn't sleep with our doors closed, so if I was laying on my left side I could look right into his room. I did this one night and saw a boy I never had seen in my life. I know it wasn't him because he didn't own a Quicksilver shirt. Across lying. I had some really creepy dream about some staircase that had a long dark hallway at the bottom. Some creature ran at me and I woke up. I say woke up, but I am not sure I was totally awake. I could look around and think clearly, but I couldn't move at all. I ended up going back to sleep and having another dream. I woke up from that dream and couldn't move again. I saw a tall, dark figure next to my bed. I was thinking very clearly and assumed that my father had walked into my room and put my paycheck on my dresser like he always does. I asked him later if he was in my room that morning and he said no. Sounds like sleep paralysis. Basically, your mind wakes up but your body doesn't. So you can't move. Hallucinations are also fairly common with sleep paralysis. Goddamned baby toys all turned on at once one night when I was alone and up cleaning. Super late. Scared the ever-loving piss out of me. Fucking baby toys. I was home alone once when I was about 13. And I took some Oreo cookies out of the cupboard, leaving them on the counter as I went into the bathroom. When I came out 5 minutes later, they were gone. I never found the cookies. Someone was secretly squatting in your house. When I was about 5, I lived with my mom and her girlfriend. They had one of those huge chest freezers and the only place to put it in the apartment was in my room. One day it's just me and mom at home. Her girlfriend is at work. Mom goes to lay down for a nap. And I'm playing with dolls on the chest freezer. After a while I see mom walk down the hall from her room toward the living room. My bedroom door was on one side of the hall. Hers was at the end of the hall and the bathroom was across the hall from my room. By the time I hop down from the freezer and go down the hall, mom was gone. I go back down the hall and look in her room. And she's still asleep on her bed. Quite a few times by coincidence I have just happened to be watching reading listed to someone who is about to or is dying. Like the day Harper Lee I was reading To Kill a Mockingbird. I remember finishing the book, looking at the clock and it saying 9:27 a.m. and later that my dad told me she had died. And I asked when and he said around 9. And after David Howie died my phone would just start playing Electric Blue without me even touching it. My creepiest experience. I graduated high school. Then paid $50,000 a year to keep learning, yay. I wish I could remember the name of the book. But it's been too many years. It definitely wasn't by Aleister Crowley though. I do remember the name of the bookstore though. It was called the Arcanum Bookstore. Deleted. Weird. I thought I added a comment but it doesn't seem to be here anymore. Maybe I'm not allowed to post the name of the bookstore? Nah dude. It's right here. https://www. Reddit. AskReddit comments /751w1y with Halloween coming up. What is your story of do3x0ae? Once I hallucinated that my mom got possessed by a demon. Fucking weird. I played Doki Doki Literature Club recently and it was the most disturbing and unsettling thing I've ever been through. How so? I've been trying to play it on my iPhone and I'm not able to for some reason. I was a kid and mom and dad were in the process of building a bunk bed in mine and my brother's room. They had taken a break and I wanted to check it out. When I entered no less than 10 seconds later the most horrible, guttural roar emanated from the bottom section of the bunk. I tore out screaming and crying. Family thought it was just a fit. Me and my cousin were our 8-foot field of maze and something deeper inside groaned at us as we approached. It was deep and bellowy. The time my dad told me there was a ghost in our house the whole time but he said he didn't tell us so we wouldn't freak out. My sister also said she was scared of the shadows but it was just the blinds. Probably just my dad's eyes because he uses glasses, also he stayed up late. Life. So I'm at this guy's house. He's having a party but I'm the first one to show up and it's just me and him. So he goes into the kitchen to get some food for the party. I stare at a photo on the wall because I am unsure what else to do. So I'm staring and I hear a sudden voice off to my side. I turn and the guy is standing right there. I wasn't even that distracted. I should have heard him coming. It was like he floated or teleported or something. Paranormal story. A story of coincidences. It was Halloween night and Jay was on my computer doing this fake podcast I do in my room. Then as I was doing one of the skits, orange flammy UFO flew by. I tweeted it and I never knew what it was and you'll never know.